back. We are here for Winging It with Liv and Ron. And we got, yeah, it's great. And we've got Lola back there in the back. Thanks again, Lola, for your cues.
Oh, you are welcome, my dear.
Yes. So, all right, Ron, we were talking a little bit about a sign campaign.
Yes.
What's up with that? Tell us a little bit about that.
With, the way things are right now, fundraising stuff has kind of been pushed back and put to a minimum with the things that we can and can't do. So one of the things that we've come up with is there's a sign campaign where if you purchase a sign from us, they're $20, and it says, "I support inclusion and diversity," from the Wheeling YWCA. And we're encouraging people to buy that and maybe put them in your yard. They're like yard signs you can put out. And it just lets your neighbors and your community know that this is something that you support. It's not political in nature. It's not meant to be divisive or excluding in any type of way. It's just letting you know that diversity and inclusion is something that you as a person in your community support.
And it's a good branding tool for you all.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's your mission, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Puts the word out there, and I think it'll be a nice thing. And coming off the heels of like a campaign season, people are used to seeing signs and stuff all over people's yards and in the streets. So I think it would be a good thing to put out there, having a sign in your yard that isn't necessarily a divisive thing. You don't have to pick a side.
Right.
Because there's usually not people you run into like, you know what, I'm against diversity.
Yeah.
And I don't want inclusion. I don't want
And if
anybody
you do run into those people, you're wondering, why am I at this place?
Yeah, why are
Get
you my
me out
neighbor?
now. 911, please. Chances are you're in a very, very sketchy situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but no, okay, that's cool. I like that idea. And where can you find out more information about that?
You can always check our website. You can go to our Facebook, and you can just give us a call at the YWCA. It's 304-232-0511, and we'll give you all the information that you need about it. And we're just really trying to push that so that people can make statements without having to necessarily feel like they're putting themselves out there.
Right,
You know,
right.
It's just a little gesture to let people know, hey,
It's like glitter.
I'm on the side. Yeah.
No, just a little extra. Hey, so I do have a question about the YWCA as a whole, because not every community, but a lot of communities have YWCAs, correct? Now, are they all connected on a national level in terms of funding or mission, or are they all kind of separate in their own ways and you guys collaborate together to maybe build up strengths of your organization and help others that maybe be weak in that area, or how does that work?
It's almost like that, exactly.
Oh.
We all are we're all bound. We have the same national mission statement that all of us are connected through. But a lot of us have differences in how we run our own programs. Like the Steubenville YWCA, they don't even have a position like mine. And there is one in the Charleston, West Virginia, YWCA. So there's a lot of similarities in a lot of the stuff that we do, and we collaborate whenever we can. Like
would you go to Steubenville because they don't have this position, but could you go up there and perhaps mentor them in like maybe an event that they're doing that?
Definitely.
Okay.
And they've been watching a lot of the stuff that we've done. Like when we did the hip hop Black Tie Fair event here, that's something that they were really interested in. So they wanted to come up and kind of get the specifics of how they did it, what venues they could use, and all that sort of stuff. And since we're all YWCAs, there isn't any competition feeling in any of it. So I always feel like I'm at their disposal if they were to ever need me. If Lori points me in a direction at another one, that's the one that I go to. Like
That's
the way
good.
we did the statewide MLK competition stuff, we always include the Charleston YWCA, even though that competition in itself has come from our office. Like we do all the judging, we do everything through us, and they handle more of the poster competition part of it. But we all go down to Charleston for the statewide competition.
Cool.
So it's like we're separate, but we're all in the same boat too.
Yeah, I love Charleston as a city.
Yeah, I feel like I've only been there on business. I've never just been there trying to actually see what it's about. It's always either business or championship games.
Yeah, right.
You know?
And a lot of times people are like, oh, you've been there? So it's like, when you're there for business, there's not a lot of social free time, you know? There's really not. So a lot of times, the last few times that I've been there have been, business and stuff. But growing up right outside of there and having families still living there, it's, it is a cool town. And it's really cool to see how it's kind of, it used to be just the town center, It's kind of like that was like the cool part of Charleston, right? And I don't know if you've been to the town center later, but it's actually kind of sad in terms of malls in general have struggled. And, they've had a lot of problems with crime within the mall and things like that. So a lot of those local businesses have really just blossomed and strengthened the town, So I thought that's kind of cool. And from a tourism standpoint, it's a
There's
great
so
town.
many places in the state that through business I had to go to, but I've always wanted to go there in a different capacity.
Yeah.
Because I was heavy in addiction counseling. I was an addiction counselor for about 8.5 years. And every year to renew our stuff, we had to go to Canaan. And
beautiful.
I got to go there, but it was always for that. I was never there for any
And I
other
bet you
reason.
thought to yourself, like, okay, so here I am in Canaan. I'm up on this mountain. I have horrible cell service, and then you're leaving. You're like, oh, I didn't even know this stuff was here.
No.
Yeah.
And the last time
Tucker
that I
County.
got to go, one of the people that were there are from that area. And they were like, man, let's take a ride. And we left from the little resort area, and they took me to this...
Purple Fiddle.
I feel like that was the name of it.
Yeah, down in
It looked like it was
Davis.
out of a movie.
Yeah,
And
they're playing their
it was-
bluegrass. They
yeah.
have wonderful food there. Nice little purple. They're known for the Purple Fiddle down there in Davis.
I would have never bumped into that. All I knew from Canaan is we're in the woods, and the deer do not seem afraid
No,
there.
no, not at all.
And I thought I honked my horn,
kinda
deer
like-
are going to scatter.
yeah.
No, they just looked at me.
Yeah, it's kind of like in Fulton.
Yeah.
Gosh. But no, it's cool. And it's kind of like the Greenbrier. If you've ever been to the Greenbrier, you think, oh, wow, Greenbrier is beautiful. It's great. But then if you venture to Lewisburg, like right down the street, you fall in love even more.
See, I would have the opposite. I've been to Lewisburg, never the Greenbrier.
Yeah.
But
And-
they all talked about it because everyone worked there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're very, and it's a great union. Like some of the people that work, like I was shocked. The first time I visited the Greenbrier was very eye-opening, and it was for tourism, and it was wonderful because I was able to take my mom, and she watched Lila, because Lila was actually only about 6-7 months old. And getting there, the guy that actually took our bags was the grandfather of the gentleman that brought them to our room.
Wow.
And then later, the dad of the boy and then the son of the grandfather brought room service up. And it was so weird. And they had similarities, you know what I mean? They actually spoke a lot. And I actually said to the gentleman when he came in later, because it was funny because the person who took the bag, he knew, because he's like, I see my grandfather helped you out, because they had like the ticket on. I was like, oh, that's awesome. You know what I mean? And then that evening when the room service came and the guy came, I was like, don't take this the wrong way. I said, but you totally remind me of the gentleman that was so kind earlier. I said, I'm sure you know him. And he was like, oh, yeah, it's my son. I was like, oh, my gosh. And then he said, our family has worked within the Greenbrier walls for 28 years. Yeah. And it
That's
was
just
crazy.
wild.
And at that time, it was before Justice had taken over, because this was over 12 years ago. And at that time, they were struggling. And I remember walking in there being blown away by like the magic of the Greenbrier. There is a magic of the Greenbrier.
I
There
have
really
to
is.
go.
It's very bougie. And
Yeah.
I am bougie. I don't, I may be down to earth another way. I love, Cece's room was 100% dedicated to the color of the front, the area when you walk into the Greenbrier. This like turquoise with this black and white and like flowers on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but it's very bougie, it's very fancy, it's all the things that you wouldn't normally do in your everyday. It's actually gluttony in so many ways. You feel guilty, and I always was thankful for work, because without being work, it's not like it's someplace I'd take my family.
Right. You can't just go down there for the weekend.
Let's just go chill. And I mean, you could, but it would plan, for a family or us, what I mean? We'd have to
take a small
plan
loan
for
out.
it. Yeah, exactly. And but it was so magical. It was definitely a place, and I always said it when they say it's America's resort. I always think that people that are from West Virginia should visit the West Virginia Independence Hall here in Wheeling, because it teaches you so much about our history. And they should visit the Greenbrier, because it teaches you so much about how people want to break the stereotype of West Virginia.
Oh, I
Yeah.
really have to go there. I'm telling you.
It's really cool. I mean, and there's some things that I just now, I discover, because usually we'd only go in the wintertime for work things. And then not this past year, but the year before, I got to go in August and got to see the actual pool.
Man, it's
Man,
nice.
it has music that plays underwater. I was just like, what is that? You know,
It's
like,
so strange too, because when I was in Lewisburg and
Yeah.
everyone was talking about the Greenbrier, there was all this buzz and everybody was getting excited because
Yeah.
of the guests. They're like, well, who's there now? Like, oh, you're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks now
Yeah.
because it was Bill Cosby.
Oh, yeah,
And everyone
yeah.
was just like, oh, my God.
I
Bill
know.
Cosby's there. And this is at the height of the Cosby
Right,
show.
right.
And people are losing their mind trying
Yeah.
to change shifts
I
so
know.
they could be there
yeah,
and meet him.
it's cool. Like, I don't think there's ever been anybody famous when I was there, but I wouldn't know either. You know, obviously they come
Right.
in. I feel like there was at one time, and we were all kind of excited about it.
Oh,
Jennifer Gardner, all that.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
yeah.
Now,
There's
she's a
pictures-
West Virginia
she's a
native,
West
though,
Virginia
right?
native, yeah.
That's a lot. I love stuff.
When
like
they
that.
opened up the casino, like, it was a big deal. So, you know, there's pictures on the wall. Jessica Simpson being there cutting the tape,
Man.
and like Jennifer Gardner and Ben Affleck, and well, obviously at that time,
Yeah.
Ben Affleck was just kind of a staple. He was he was a West Virginian by marriage.
Yeah. I wonder if does she stay involved with a lot of West Virginia stuff still?
I
or-
think so. I mean, I've seen her. She has a couple of things. I think. Remember when the big flood hit down there? She was very big part of that, and raising money and raising efforts. And I believe that program still exists. I'd have to look into it. She does a lot for food banks.
See, that's the kind of stuff I'd love to know. Like like famous West Virginians that you wouldn't really,
Right.
think
There-
of. I don't know too many.
Yeah, and I feel I think it was part of our 150th celebration. There was like somebody that was trying to keep tabs on who was from West Virginia and cool facts, you know?
Right.
And like the Blue Church. Are you an Andy Griffith fan?
Oh, I mean, who isn't?
Right. Don Knox got married there at the Blue Church.
The Blue Church in Wheeling?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
So the girl he was married
Man.
was from West Virginia, one of his marriages, and he got married there. That was on their website for a while, but I
See,
was
that's
there because, Andy
fantastic.
Griffith was.
I was just
Staple.
excited when I found out Steve Harvey was from West Virginia.
Yeah, and he's funny.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll take that. Him and Randy Moss have been the ones that I've been
I went to
hanging my
school with
hat
Randy
on.
Moss. He was there at Marshall when I was down there. And it's always funny when it was like, oh, really? I was like, he was really ugly then. But he was still so down to earth. And here's a little funny story. So Randy went to DuPont, which is where my mom and all of her brothers and sisters went to high school. My Uncle Denny's name stood on the walls of DuPont of breaking. He was a tremendous athlete, played for Pitt with Dan Marino at that time. But Randy was the only one that's broken his records.
Wow.
So one night I was talking to Randy just like in general, you know, and he was saying, he's like, oh, I'm from Rand, da da da. I was like, oh yeah, my mom and dad grew up in Bell. I said, my mom went to DuPont. I said, my uncle was Denny, and he knew him right away.
Jeez.
So it was kind of cool.
Yeah, that type of stuff.
But I love to see him on these ESPN shows, and just
Yeah.
the way he talks, just he's not changed, you
No,
know, his,
no.
you know, hometown pride and stuff like that. So
I'm glad. I heard he's kind of coming back around because there was a time he didn't really do a lot of claiming in West Virginia. But I heard now he's kind of back into being a West Virginia boy. and I love
that last 30 for 30, he spoke a lot about his.
Yeah, I need to check that out.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. So I don't know, but it was cool. That was a great time to be at Marshall. You know, Pendleton was down there. We won the MAC
Oh, yeah.
championship. So that was just a great team. And it was just fun to be there at the time. We lived right across from the football stadium. So anytime we'd have a Thursday night show, our house was on there. Probably deleted. Coverage not available, you know. But yeah, it was a great time to be in Huntington. And it was funny because when I went to school down there, which was from 97 to 2002 is when I left 2001 really, but my sister still went down there and we all lived in this one house. All the Pullman Square and a lot of that stuff did not exist down there.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And so to see the changes that town's gone through, and I always wanted to go there, one, because it was far enough away to where I felt like I was kind of, spreading my wings, right?
Right.
But it also was flat. So when you went to Morgantown to visit, and I would be dying, like thinking about walking to class. Huntington was just all flat. Everything was just so laid out so nicely, and I loved it there. And they are doing tremendous this year too. And I was really disappointed because our governor's conference was supposed to be in Huntington. It was actually going to be on that Sunday right after a home game. And I was like, this is it. This is the year. I'm coming back, right? Tailgating, going all out, you know, and thank you, Rona. Things
Yes.
got changed. But they're doing it next year, and I'm just praying that it all lines up together because, it's just hard to really break away and do stuff. But I loved it there. Have you spent any time down there? Because I'm always
I've been there twice.
Yeah.
That was it. I don't know much. Now, my uncle, he's from Huntington.
Yeah.
And he went there, so he always has these great things to say. But when I would visit him, it would always be for like a graduation or that sort of stuff. So I never really get to
So
walk
was
around
he
or
down
see
there
anything.
during, like, depending on his age, he may be about the age that the plane crashed and things
He was
like that.
right after that.
Yeah.
It was, I think, 2 classes, and then he got there after the plane
in
crashed.
Huntington. Yeah, my uncles were there at that time, and they're all from Huntington. Your uncle probably went to my one of my uncle's place called Boney's Hole in the Wall. He may have stories.
That's a great name.
Boney's Hole. His
Hole in the
nickname
Wall.
was Boney, and then they owned a car lot, H&B, and that stood until Harlan passed. But it's a parking lot now. But all the football players hung out there. It was like it was the place to go to get in trouble or to have a good time. So, ask him. It's funny.
I'm gonna bring that up to
Actually,
him, yeah.
when you see like for a while, if you things to do in West Virginia, like college, whatever, to get a wing ding at Boney's Hole in the Wall was on the top 10 list of like things you should do when you're.
I'm telling you, I feel like there aren't more West Virginia statements than that.
Right.
A wing
Wing
ding
ding at
from
Boney's
Boney's
Hole in the
Hole in the Wall.
I know.
I love that sort of stuff, though.
I know, but it's just kind of funny. And like for me, we're just a family and it's so funny when you see that kind of stuff because you're like, oh yeah. But if you know Boney, you'd understand. And then his wife, Louetta, she passed away extremely young. She was a teacher at Kamak, a beloved teacher. They've planted a tree and they still honor her every year.
Watchdog is
We done already?
No, I hit the wrong button. So.
That's weird, Gula. Must have got you excited thinking about wing ding.
I was thinking about Boney's Hole in the Wall.
I know.
I gotta go there.
I know.
Right.
Too bad it doesn't exist. I never got to go there either. I'm sure I probably did at some point. Who knows? But okay, so you got your sign stuff going on. We only have a couple more minutes, Ron. I don't want to take away any of your time from anything that you would like to promote internally. Not maybe so much what you're doing, but is there anybody else? Well, all of you, I'm sure, are working on particular projects.
Yeah, we've got. There's so much stuff happening at the Y. Like we're constantly working on our DV program, our homelessness program. We have a program with women that are suffering from addiction as well. So all that stuff is always constantly moving. And then we also have the stuff that I try to do, which is more outreach stuff and more community based. And I think now that we're finally really getting the hang of this Zoom stuff, that almost all of the presentations or trainings that I could do, I can offer through Zoom now. And I'm really getting to the point where I've gotten good enough at it that I'm pretty confident it'll be just as impactful as it used to be when I could come in and actually sit down and talk with folks.
Well, do you find that although you're getting better at it, that some of your clients, are they as well?
They are, and they're starting to understand that this is the way you're getting the information now. And when it comes to clients that are actually working with programs we're doing at the Y, they're understanding that telehealth is what they're going to have to do now. So if you need to talk to your therapist, you need to talk to your counselor, that's a route that we got to go now. And doctor visits, that's kind of the route that stuff has to go. And they're getting to the point where I can email questions and stuff ahead of time, and they can hit me with concerns ahead of time, so that once we get on the Zoom, we can make everything go really smoothly. And I like, when they get engaged like that with it.
I'm not going to lie, it's a wonderful option to have here. Let's face it, when OVMC passed away, what the
That's
heck?
how it felt.
Yeah, exactly. But when OVMC closed and leaving only one hospital, I mean, it still is causing a huge gap, especially in downtown care, right? And those without like maybe transportation or,
I'm still expecting it to come back one day. I know it's very wishful.
I mean, I think it's coming back in different ways, I mean, there's a lot of activity going on down there. And thank you to the city for that, for always, focusing on that. But it's just kind of crazy. So this telehealth is kind of a cool concept that I think it should have been done prior to COVID, to be honest, with the big gap that we had here.
Right. It could have helped with a lot of folks that just couldn't move around. They just don't
Yeah,
have the
and most
vision.
people have a cell phone to which they can access, coverage of some way, shape, or form,
Right.
And if they don't, I'm sure that you guys could have helped them and to help them with that.
Yeah. 'Cause that's one of the things I was thinking about. When I talk about the why, I always think about it that way because I don't know of any issues that affect women that the Y can't address.
Oh, that's good. So down to our last minute, we're going to have to wrap it up. Is there anything that we can do as a community? Can we go to your website? Can we go to your Facebook page? Can we call? Is there initiatives that you guys can put into place if people reach out to you?
Oh, yes. If they reach out to me, we can do any sort of, I do a lot of diversity trainings, cultural competency, stuff about rape culture, anything when it deals with identity or what they might be in their society or how they can affect it. I can help them with the training.
Tell them how to get a hold of you, the easiest way.
You can go to our website, which is ywcawheeling.org, or you can go to our Facebook page, Wheeling YWCA, or YWCA Wheeling.
Hey, thanks for joining me today and being my
no,
co-host.
thank you. I
Winging it with
appreciate
Liv
it.
and Ron. All right, thanks everybody. Support our sponsors that support this station, and we'll see you guys next week for a ho 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 good time.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1.